What if your brain's job is not to remember, but to forget? That sounds gloomy, I know, but once I accepted it, everything about learning got easier. I stopped blaming myself for not retaining chapters. I stopped thinking my kids were lazy when multiplication facts slipped away. I started treating memory like a skill with dials I could tweak. Today I want to show you those dials. A neuroscientist named Yuji Ikegaya, whose work explores how we store and keep memories, helped me reframe it. His book on exam brain science makes a simple, powerful point. The brain filters hard. Only a small share of what we experience earns a permanent spot. That filter lives in a structure called the hippocampus. You can think of it like the bouncer outside the velvet rope of long-term memory. The cortex inside is the quiet vault where knowledge lives for the long haul. The hippocampus stands at the door and only lets in guests that feel important. Important to whom? Important to survival. Threat, pain, big emotion, urgent novelty. That is the default setting. It is why you can still remember where you were during a scary car incident but cannot recall the fourth bullet point on page 32. So if you want reliable memory for school, for your career, for the languages and skills you care about, your job is to convince the bouncer that your information matters. The good news is you can, and you do not have to become a different person to do it. I am going to walk you through 4 big levers, then stitch them into a simple routine you can use whether you are studying for a certification, coaching a classroom, or just trying to stop relearning the same things every season. I will add the tricks I use with my own work and with students I mentor. We will keep it practical, human, and rooted in how the brain actually works. First lever, rhythm beats force. Most of us try to brute force knowledge. We read a chapter twice in one night and feel good because it feels familiar. Then a week later it is fog. That is not a character flaw. That is the forgetting curve in action. When you learn something new, your brain drops some of it quickly, then the drop slows down. Imagine a steep hill that flattens out. If you do nothing, the hill wins. If you return at the right moments, the hill changes shape. The memory gets traction. What are the right moments? Here's a pattern that works wonders, and I wish I had found it earlier. Touch the material 4 times, spaced out. First, learn it well the first day. Second, revisit on the second day. Third, revisit 1 week after that second day. Fourth, come back 2 weeks after the third visit. Fifth, give it one more check 1 month after the 4th visit. That cadence works for vocab, for formulas, for frameworks in management books, for guitar chord shapes, for anything that needs to stick. Why those intervals? Because each return is a clear signal to the hippocampus. This shows up a lot. It must matter, let it into the vault. That is the story we want the gatekeeper to believe. How do you use this without turning your life into a scheduling app? Keep it painfully simple. When I finish a study session, I set 4 calendar nudges right then. Day 2, 1 week later, 2 weeks after that, 1 month after that, done. When the nudge pops up, I do not reread, I test myself. That is a crucial difference. I close the book, open a blank page, and pull the ideas out of my head. No peeking until I have tried. I want my brain doing the work of retrieval, because retrieval is the workout that strengthens the pathway. Rereading is like watching someone else exercise and expecting to get fit. If you teach, gift this to your students. Build the cadence into your unit plan. Short quizzes that ask for recall on the second day, then the next week, then 2 weeks later, then a month later. Kids groan less than you think when the quizzes are short and predictable. Parents, you can do the same with note cards around the house. One more tweak I love here, the one source rule for the first cycle. When I am tackling a new topic, I resist the urge to sample 5 books and 3 podcasts all at once. I pick one clear source and master it through the first month of spaced reviews. Then once the framework is in my head, I layer in new voices. That order prevents the confusion that feels like novelty to the hippocampus and gets treated like noise. Second lever, make the path easier with curiosity. There is a mouthful of a phrase in neuroscience called long-term potentiation. Ignore the jargon, picture a fresh trail after a snowfall. The first person trudges through and it is hard work. The second person's steps sink into that path more easily. By the 10th person, there is a packed walkway and you can move without thinking. That is what happens between neurons when you practice recall and hit important feelings. The brain literally makes the pathway easier to use. Here is the part that surprised me when I first dug into it. Curiosity itself helps lay that path. When you feel genuinely curious, the brain releases a pattern of activity that makes connections more likely to strengthen. You learn faster even before you start drilling facts. That is why the days when you are fascinated by a topic feel effortless and sticky. So the question becomes practical. How do you create curiosity on demand, especially for dry topics? I use 4 moves. 1. Lead with a question, not an outline. When I open a chapter, I write down 3 questions I want answered, put them in plain speech. Why does this happen? What causes the failure? How do I fix it under pressure? My brain now has hooks to hang details on. 2. Start with a mystery, even a tiny one. If I am learning electrical concepts with a teenager, we will start by asking why a string of holiday lights all go dark when one bulb pops. We guess, we argue, we draw, then we go learn. Curiosity is moving. 3. Tie the thing to my personal stakes. If I am grinding through accounting rules, I do not tell myself accounting is boring. I ask, if I launch a coffee shop next year, which line in this statement decides whether I can hire one more person? Now it matters. 4. Teach it forward. Nothing spikes curiosity like the promise that you will need to explain it to someone you respect tomorrow. I schedule a short call with a friend, or I promise my kid we will build a mini lesson after dinner. Suddenly my brain is awake. If you are a manager, let your team rotate 5-minute teach backs. The room wakes up because curiosity is social. Curiosity turns the lights on. The spaced rhythm keeps them on. 3rd lever, learn in lion mode. I call it that because the 3 states that sharpen learning feel primal. A little hungry, in motion, slightly cool, let me unpack each. A little hungry. When you are comfortably full, your body is busy with digestion. Blood and attention shift. Right before meals, your brain is extra alert, scanning for useful input. Take advantage of that natural edge. I do my tightest memorization sprints right before lunch or dinner. 10 minutes, not an hour. I stand at the counter and run vocabulary. I repeat a formula. I recite a key paragraph from my presentation. Parents, that 10 minutes before dinner is magical for kids learning facts or lines for play. In motion, walking is wildly underrated for memory. Movement wakes the system that orients you in space, and that system is tied into how you map ideas. When I prep for a podcast, I leave the house with 1 note card in my pocket. I walk the same loop and try to recite my outline without looking. If I get stuck, I glance at the card, then keep moving. If you commute by train, the gentle sway can serve a similar role. Rocking chairs work too. The body in motion sends the message this matters for the real world. Slightly cool, I am not telling you to shiver. I am saying that warm, cozy rooms make most of us drowsy and less attentive. A little cool brings the alertness up. For evening study, I lower the thermostat a couple of ticks or crack a window for 10 minutes. Classrooms and home offices can do the same with a fan and a light sweater. Tiny change, real payoff. Put those together and you get targeted, powerful sessions. 10 minutes before dinner. A 20-minute walk and recall at midday. A brief cool room review at night. You are not grinding. You are sending the hippocampus layered messages it understands. This shows up again and again. It matters to my body and I am engaged. 4th lever. Use emotion as the glue. There is another small structure in the brain that pays attention to feelings, especially strong ones. When it fires, it flags the moment as important. That flag tells the hippocampus the tag on this memory looks a lot like survival. Let it in. The punchline for learners is simple. If you add a dash of emotion to the facts you care about, you keep them longer. You do not need to cry over a history date or yell about a formula. You can imagine a scene for 10 seconds. You can add a picture, a smell, a tiny story. When I needed to remember a series of Supreme Court cases for a class, I pictured walking into a courtroom with the words carved in heavy wood and the air chilled like a library in winter. I imagined being the attorney and feeling that mix of fear and pride. Each case got a different prop on the table. A worn pocket watch, a cracked pair of glasses, a coffee stain. It took less than 1 minute. It stuck for months. Try this with your kids. Instead of drilling that California's capital is Sacramento, ask them to close their eyes and imagine the smell of the farmer's market there on a hot summer afternoon. The peaches, the buzz of bikes, now say Sacramento. The word has a home. Here's a quick protocol for emotion tagging that works across ages. Step 1. Pick the dry fact you want to keep, 1 line, not 5. Step 2, name the feeling you want to attach. Pride, relief, awe, even mild annoyance can work. Step 3, build a tiny scene, 10 seconds, you are there, you feel the feeling, you touch a prop, you hear a sound, say the fact out loud while you picture it. Step 4, breathe once, smile, move on. Do this during the spaced reviews, it compounds if you lead a classroom. Keep a running list of short prompts that evoke feeling without derailing the lesson. When did someone show courage? What would be scary to misunderstand? What would be funny if we got it wrong? The answers give facts a place to land. Let's talk about sleep. Sleep is the quiet editor of memory. I used to treat sleep like a guilty luxury. Now I treat it like part of the study plan. During certain phases of sleep, your brain replays and reorganizes what you learned while awake. The hippocampus hands off some of the meaningful items to the long-term vault, and it also throws away clutter that got in the way. 2 practical takeaways changed my results. 1, put a short recall right before bed, not an hour. 5 or 10 minutes of pulling ideas out of your head and saying them out loud or writing them on a blank card. The night crew in your brain now has something fresh and important to work on. 2, do not panic on the occasional night when you cannot fall asleep fast. Lying still with your eyes closed is not a waste. It is a kind of quiet rest the brain can still use. What makes the next day miserable is often the stress loop, not the lack of sleep itself. So when I am restless, I drop the phone, dim the room, and do slow breathing while I mentally rehearse what I learned. If you are a parent with a kid who worries, teach them this script. Close eyes, slow breath, quiet recall, let the brain file it away. There is one more daily timing trick that connects the levers. Pair the pre-dinner hungry sprint with the pre-sleep mini recall. The first injects fresh material with high alertness. The second asks the night crew to consolidate it. Together they turn a single day into a strong rung on the memory ladder. Now let's stitch this into a plan you can follow without thinking. A simple week of sticky learning. Day 1, learn it well, start with curiosity. Write 3 questions you want answered. Read actively. Speak back the answers in your own words. Create 1 tiny emotion tag for each key idea. End the session by setting the 4 future nudges. Second day, 1 week after that, 2 weeks after that, 1 month after that. Put a 10-minute recall right before bed. Day 2, do the first review. Do not reread yet. Try to write or speak the core ideas. Check where you were wrong. Add a fresh image if something felt slippery. If possible, take a short walk and recite as you go. End with your bedtime recall. Day 9, review 2. You should feel a bit rusty at the start. That is not failure. That is the workout. Retrieve, check, repair. I like to use the hungry sprint before dinner on this one. 10 minutes, intense. Close it with your bedtime recall. Day 23, review 3. This is the 2 weeks after review 2. Things should feel more natural now. Add a teach back. 5 minutes to a friend or your kid or your camera. Keep it playful. Roughly 1 month later, review 4. This one is light. A quick walk and recall, a glance at your original questions from day 1. Can you answer them cleanly in your own voice? If yes, set a 3-month reminder for a maintenance check. If no, choose 1 idea that still feels slippery and run the whole sequence again for that single idea. Layer lion mode into any day. If you can, keep the room a little cool while you study. Turn the warm light off and leave cozy blankets for later. Use 10 minutes before meals for memorization sprints. Use walks for recall. This is not about discomfort. It is about nudging the dial toward alertness, and please do not skip the human side. If you hate a subject, do not tell yourself to grind harder. Ask better questions. Why would a thoughtful person care about this? Where does it touch my life? What would be dangerous if I misunderstood it? Then go find a case, a story, a scene that holds a feeling. Your brain pays attention to feelings. Parents and teachers, a couple of extras for you. Build a class or home rhythm around those 4 touch points. Second day, 1 week, 2 weeks later, 1 month later. Make the check-ins short and low drama, 2 or 3 questions each time. Celebrate retrieval, not perfection. Design homework to fit the hungry sprint window before dinner. If you coach a team, do walk and recall drills. Players recite plays while lightly jogging. You will be shocked at how much smoother game day becomes. For adults studying for a professional exam, you can apply the same structure with busy schedules. 10 minutes before lunch. 5 minutes before bed, 1 focused review block on day 9. A walk and recall during your Saturday errand run. The secret is not heroic willpower. The secret is tiny, consistent signals to the hippocampus that say this keeps coming back and I care about it. I want to add one more personal angle because it changed how I show up as a learner. I used to buy books like a hobby, 5 open at once. An hour of reading would leave me with 3 highlighters and almost nothing in my head. When I switched to the one-source rule for the first month and the 4 touch points rhythm, plus the hungry sprints and the walk and recall, the feeling changed. I did less. I kept more. The proof came when I could teach the ideas without notes. I could hold them in my own words. That is the point, not to parrot a page. To transform the ideas into part of you. Where do you start today? Pick one small target, 5 Spanish verbs, 3 core ideas from a management chapter, 2 equations, 1 historical date, write your 3 questions, read with purpose. Add a 10-second scene with a feeling, set the 4 reminders, do a hungry sprint tomorrow, walk and recall at the end of the week, brief cool room recall at night, keep the promises, watch what happens. Before we close, here's a sample day that keeps all the levers in play. Written to work for a real-life schedule. Morning, on your commute or during a short break, write your 3 questions for the topic you will learn later. Plant curiosity early. It will simmer all day. Midday, take a short walk, no headphones, try to recall what you learned yesterday. Speak softly if you can. If you are in an office, whisper or move your lips without sound. The point is retrieval on the move. Late afternoon, 10 minutes before dinner, hungry sprint. Focus on facts, names, formulas, no distractions, out loud if possible. Evening, lower the room temperature a touch for 15 minutes. Do a 2-minute emotion tag refresh for the ideas you want most. Then close the day with a 5-minute recall right before bed. Eyes closed, slow breath, quiet mind. Repeat that skeleton and layer the 4 touch points across weeks. You will feel the curve tilt in your favor. Let me end with a bit of encouragement. You are not broken for forgetting. Your brain is efficient. It protects you from being buried under data you do not need. But you are not at its mercy. With rhythm, curiosity, lion mode, and emotion, you can tell your brain a different story about what matters. The hippocampus will listen, the vault will open, and the knowledge you care about will stop slipping away. If this inspired you, please give it a like, subscribe for more weekly insights, and share it with a friend who's on this journey with you. Thanks so much for being here. I truly appreciate you. See you in the next video.